Women's Sports Mix.
Cambridge Radio.
This is the Women's Sports Mix. I'm Amy Gray.
And I'm Alex Elbro.
The A-Team. That's what we call ourselves.
We are, aren't we?
Don't know. Yeah, we try it every week, don't we?
I thought that one wasn't too bad.
That's all right. We talk about women's and girls' sports here on the Women's Sports Mix. All kinds of sport across Cambridge and South Cambs. And we follow the local football, rugby and ice hockey clubs. Now, here's a question for you all. Have you ever played, have you watched Korfball? Because there are lots of clubs right here in Cambridgeshire.
And we've spoken to Liv Harcourt and Alex Derham of Cambridge Tigers Korfball to find out more about the sport, the rise of Korfball in the area and how you can get involved.
We were also at Histon Ladies Cup game against Dussindale and Hellesdon Rovers at the weekend. It was a 3-1 loss, but that does not tell the whole story. We'll be talking to Stute's assistant manager Liz Pamplin.
And I spoke to Fabs Howell from Shelford Women's Rugby about their latest win. Some of the girls have been at an international sevens tournament in Dubai, and we preview the next game and hear about an exciting event they're putting on for International Women's Day on Sunday the 8th of March. One for your diaries.
And I've also caught up with Julia Maybury and Sophie Heather of the Cambridge Kodiaks Ice Hockey. On the last ep, we previewed that upcoming game that they had against Chelmsford Cobras. It was a superb win. More about that and the latest Kodiaks 2 results, all coming up on the show tonight. And we are kicking off this episode with Histon Ladies. Alex and I went to this game. It was a cup tie against Dussindale and Hellesdon Rovers. This is a Norwich club. They are in the league above Histon, and it was a 3-1 loss. I spoke to assistant manager Liz Pamplin after the game. Liz, we were hoping for a bit of a cup upset today, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah, no, unfortunately we started a bit slowly in the first, 20 minutes and found ourselves 2-0 down early on. But I thought we gave a really good account of ourselves and fighting to get back in it. We just didn't take the chances that we had, and their goalkeeper played very well, to be fair to us. So it was one of those days today.
And there was that early goal for Dussindale. Then it was 2-0 down. What was the message to the players when you were at 2-0 in the first half?
Just win more duels. So in the first half we didn't really stand up to the physicality, and we're always better when we win duels. So it was get back on to play and win more duels and get yourself back in the game, and we did. At the end of the first half in particular, we had a good 10-minute spell, and then scoring right late on in the first half gave us a really good platform to start in the second.
Getting that goal, so it was in at a time in the first half. When you were going in at half time, what were people thinking then? Were they thinking, yes, we can get this?
Yeah, much better mood. It's nice to go into the dressing room after you've scored. And we had a chat, a constructive chat about being better in certain areas, and then knowing that we had a chance in the second half to really take the game to them and try and get back, claw back the deficit that we were at the time.
And did you feel when you came in after half time, did you think the girls had gone for it then? Were you happy with their performance?
Yeah, really pleased with them. We upped the duels. They worked really hard. We tried things. We had some chances and we fought for the game. It just wasn't to be at the end of the day. And just one thing here and there. And as I say, we had a couple of chances that perhaps on another day go in, and then all of a sudden you've taken it to extra time.
So they had the goal at 3-1 from a set piece. What did you think of that goal from them?
Yeah, it was a lovely header. I mean, when they swing a corner in and the player heads it in the top corner after competing with our strongest header of the ball, then you have to say fair play. It was a good goal.
Let's talk about the penalty, because as the penalty was given, the Stutes did have the ball in the back of the net. That's frustrating.
Yeah, it was a little frustrating. I mean, it was good spot from the referee to see the penalty, but as he blew, we'd put the ball in the back of the net. It was so the timing wasn't quite right, and unfortunately, he gave the penalty. But you want to, a penalty is a really good chance to score, so we take that. And in the end, it didn't quite work out, but that's football sometimes.
And with the saved penalty, so it's still at 3-1. At that point, the girls really did have an awful lot to do. They had to go for it, but they also had to contain Dussindale. But did you feel like, looking at it, and they are the league above, that they had given it a good go in the last sort of 15-20?
Yeah, we changed shape and moved some players perhaps into positions they don't always play, and I thought they played brilliantly, especially Molly Banks, who went in at centre half, had a really good game when we were light at the back to try and go forward. And yeah, the girls gave it everything that they had. It just, again, as I say, it's football, it's one of those days.
Thank you very much to Liz Pamplin. Alex, we went into this game. We felt good about it, didn't we? And we got the last parking space.
That was the first bit.
Good.
Yeah, that was the first bit. And in my sort of relatively new car, managed to reverse it into a very small space. Yeah. We were holding our breath as we went in. But it was nice. They were very welcoming. It's the first time we've been at Histon home. They were very good at telling us where all the facilities were and where we could get our hot chocolates.
If you're new to going to the games and you're maybe thinking of taking children, daughters, family to Histon Ladies, very welcoming. They'll show you what to do, show you where everything is.
There was a young team there, wasn't there? A young boys team.
Yep.
Of Histon boys. I mean, playing. Yeah, I think they enjoying themselves there.
Arrived to cheer them on.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, it was a shame because it had lots of promise, and I think they did really well. And I hadn't realised till we'd got there that they were in the league above. And when you got to pitch side, they were quite a bit taller than a lot of the girls, so
they were
all of these things
very
add up,
athletic
don't they?
Club, weren't they? Yeah, tall, looked athletic. It was. I mean, I'd spoken to Liz when we previewed it on the other show. They've had such a good season. Why wouldn't they be eyeing up a win here? But they also knew it was going to be a test, and I think good experience for them. Disappointing result, I guess, as Liz had said. They started off a bit too slow, but definitely gave a good account of themselves.
Yes, and it was annoying being blown up for a penalty after the goal had gone in for them, and then unfortunately not getting the penalty. That was a bit of a real moment, wasn't it?
If that could have gone to 3-2, that would have given Dussindale something to think about.
Exactly.
Because Histon really were putting on the pressure, but not to be this time.
Yeah. No, it was good, and it was very nice there.
Yeah, we recommended to, if you haven't been there.
Yeah.
Good day out as well, entertaining, and you're cheering on Histon, who are having a great season. So upcoming fixtures for them in December, they have Fulbourn. So here we go. If you want to see two Cambridge clubs, this is at Fulbourn Bluebirds. That is on the 7th of December, and then the last one before Christmas on the 14th. They have another. It's a home game, and they will be hosting Hitchin Bells.
Very good.
And up next on the Women's Sports Mix, we're talking to Liv Harcourt and Alex Derham about Korfball.
Cambridge Radio Women's Sports Mix.
You're listening to the Women's Sports Mix with Amy and Alex, and a sport we have been interested to learn more about is Korfball. Liv Harcourt is head coach at Cambridge Tigers Korfball Club, and Alex Derham is an assistant head coach. Welcome to you both.
Thanks very much. Good to be here.
Thanks for having us on.
So Korfball is a sport that's growing in popularity. I'm certainly hearing a lot more about it. But for those listeners that haven't maybe seen it or don't know much about the game, how would you describe the game of Korfball?
So Korfball's a sport for men and women, or girls and boys. People often describe it as a mix between basketball and netball, which is a bit odd. It's none of those really. It's unique. So you have that mix of men and women. So men and women play together, but there are rules in place to make sure that men can only mark men and women can only mark women. So that's the brilliant part. There's also two halves. So you have an attacking half and a defending half, and every two goals that are scored, you swap. So everybody gets a chance to attack and everybody gets a chance to defend. The roles are less strict than in like basketball. You'd have your kind of roles that you have within the team, and netball obviously you've got your very fixed roles and fixed zones, and so Korfball is a little bit different.
And I think that's the same for a lot of sports. I mean, in football and things, I know everyone has the ability to score a goal, but you're usually thinking your attacking players are going to be the ones that score, and same rugby and everything. That's very interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, you have to be a lot more all-round. It doesn't work if your strength is just in an attacking position or in a defending position. If that's one of your weaknesses, it will be capitalised on, so it's important you can do a bit of both.
That you like for like mark each other, but is there rules about how many on each team?
Yes, so there are 8 people on a team, and you'll have 2 men and 2 women at one end being your attackers, and 2 men and 2 women at the other end being your defenders. So the opposition will set out with their defenders on your attackers, and likewise down the other end. So everybody matches up. And this is why it's such a wonderful sport for juniors, because at that primary school age, when boys typically will be, I don't want to pass to a girl, they have to. There's that element of cooperation where you have to. You've got 4 people in your half, and you can't just pass to one of them. It won't work.
Is that unique as a sport? Are there other sports that have that?
I think the only, up to the last few years, it's the only sport that was specifically designed. So it was designed around the time of basketball by a Dutch school teacher for that very purpose. He wanted something that his girls and boys could play together on an equal footing.
Growing up, I saw that as a massive benefit because it meant that where some of my other friends were going and doing single-sex sports only, so be it the netball or the boys traditionally going to play football, it was nice that I had a group of friends in school going to a mixed-sex school, but then outside of school, I also had a mixed-sex friendship group because we played the same sport together, and then you become comrades on and off the pitch. And
yeah, I was going to pick up on that because, Alex, you said that's where you first encountered it, playing it at primary school, and I'm an ex-primary teacher, and I definitely didn't know about it. So it's lovely to hear that, because we would have the thing. I taught much younger, so therefore we were doing things together. We weren't doing sort of separate specific sports, really. We were doing things like ball catching or whatever. But as it went up, I felt that all the teachers had that thing of how do we split these groups and try and do things when everyone was interested in doing the same sort of things, really. And that has come more, since I was teaching, that girls are playing more football and they are expecting to do more things.
Yeah, I was very lucky growing up. We a big shout out to a lady called Jackie Hubbard who introduced me to the sport, and as I say, kind of never looked back. But it was always one of those things that at that age, if you had like boys that really felt like, well, I would just play as boys and we'll kind of do this, it was you'll never win the game without the girls. Because if you, as a one-on-one sort of dynamic game, if you have somebody that defends you really well and you can't get free or can't get the ball, you need your other players to kind of fill that gap. And that's sometimes where the girls would kind of step in and they really show their value. And it was nice to kind of feel that as a child growing up and playing that.
And I think some people listening might think about how you get into Korfball. And obviously you can join your local club. But Alex, you're saying that was something at your school that they had. So did it just happen that you were fortunate enough to be introduced to it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I say, Jackie came in and it was just run as an after-school club, and we all did it. It was something that was just a bit of fun. We kind of all went along, and then as the years kind of progressed, I was asked if I wanted to join the club outside and gave it a go and absolutely loved it. For me, it was a nice gap between you had friends at school that we saw all the time, and then it enabled me to develop other friendships outside of school. But as I say, in a mixed-sex environment, and just allowed me to kind of really thrive there. But having done a lot of coaching at university level, that is definitely an area that's growing. It's an avenue for people to go to university and are interested in trying something new and turn up, give it a go and see what it's all about. And that's a really popular way that people are getting into the sport or learning more about it in that sort of avenue. And
you're all on the sort of, excuse the pun, the same level playing field for that, because a lot of people won't have tried it or had a go. And then we were saying this earlier, if you're good or bad at it, no one will know, because they're all starting on it new anyway. So you're all experiencing it together.
Yeah, it's like the joy of learning a new sport all together and picking things up. And it doesn't really matter if not many people have heard of it, then you can give it a go and bring new people along.
One of the wonderful things that's happening at the moment, University Korfball, is that there are pockets of youth activity around the country, and some of us working really hard to get it into schools. So Kent, where Alex is from, has had a really successful, sustained period of development, and also Cambridgeshire has had a really good, sustained period of youth development. And over the years now, we see those children that we have coached moving on to university, and they are becoming the future coaches and the future referees, and it's really exciting to see. So you do get these pockets of players who can play, but on the whole it's a fresh pool of players who haven't played it before and are just trying. But you've got those pockets of coaches and referees that are experienced because they've had
and
that
to bring
upbringing.
that through then, because otherwise if everyone's you wouldn't have those coaches and referees with experience to bring those people on. You said it started in Holland. Is it quite big in Holland?
It's enormous.
Yeah,
yes.
I thought so.
So it's in Holland. They have, every village will have an outdoor sports pitch with korfball posts that you can bed into the ground. It's very much part of their cultural, in the village there'll be a sports centre with a bar, so kids go play korfball and then everyone has a drink. It's very, very much part of that culture. So the Dutch have done a great job of trying to do lots of outreach and continue to do so. They go into Africa and all sorts of places just to develop the sport and take it wider. But obviously for all of us, it's really hard because the sports facilities don't exist in Cambridge. We don't have enough sports centres to get bookings. So, you can only do so much.
How long have you been playing?
I've been playing for 30 years, which is the age of Cambridge Tigers Korfball Club. I think I started when we were about 6 months old, and I went along to mock my sister because I thought, what on earth is this weird sport that sounds a bit silly? And I was coaching within, I don't know, a few months. I really got it and loved it. It was great.
I know we're talking on radio, so it might be hard, but sort of, you said it's like basketball and netball, but not really either of those things. But is it a thing where you bouncing the ball, throwing the ball, or is it over a net? And
yes, so picture a big court. So any sports centre that you walk into, that's we'll use the biggest court that they have, and then a halfway line, and then a third of the way from each half there is a freestanding basket. So you can play behind the basket. The basket is 3.5 metres high. So it's higher than netball and basketball.
That's tall.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just trying to work that one out. That's very tall, isn't it?
It's very tall. So that's a big difference. And there's so the ball is not too dissimilar from basketball, netball. It's a ball, right? You chuck it around, you shoot it up and try and score in the basket to score a goal.
Sounds like it's quite hard to get it 3.5 metres.
Yeah, so you just...
Is the ring bigger than a...
It is slightly bigger,
Okay.
yes. It's a bit more forgiving than a netball hoop. But realistically, if you've got to shoot that high, you need...
It's more of a small cylinder as well, isn't it? As opposed to just a ring that you shoot into. So it has...
I think I've seen it, actually, yes.
It used to be made of a wicker... It used to be a wicker basket.
I've seen the wicker ones,
and now they're plastic baskets, but it's the same principle. Something better to aim at.
Yeah.
For Cambridge Tigers, how have you seen the club progress from when you started there 30 years ago to now?
It's a massive journey from being we were obviously the youngest club in the area, and we were the plucky kind of, because we were one of the last ones to be set up. And so that has its own dynamic of like fighting against all the big clubs. And then suddenly we become the big club because after years of, we committed to youth development, put a lot of work into that to make ourselves grow and successful. Got some of those players to England squads, and we've really grown as a club. And then we got ourselves into the England Korfball League, Premier League, which is the top league in the country. And with that comes all sorts of other challenges, because obviously you've got your grassroots players and then you've got your elite players, and it's a really hard balance to sustain a community korfball club and an elite korfball club and get all those right, especially with the lack of training facilities in Cambridge.
And you said there's about being a smaller club, but you're bigger now. You're one of the biggest. Is there lots in this area then?
Yes, so there are 6 clubs in the area. There are 3, 4 within the city. So there's one in Littleport, one in Ely, and then there's Cambridge University, and then there's Cambridge City, Cambridge Phoenix and Cambridge Tigers. So there are 6 clubs and about 24 teams in all of those 6 clubs.
Wow.
So lots and lots of players.
It's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are into a sport that isn't one of the big traditional sports in the UK, but actually when you look at it, people are enjoying it.
Yep, they're around, I couldn't tell you how many hundreds and hundreds of people play in the UK, but I believe there are around 300 teams in the UK at the moment across about 85 clubs. And I don't know, close to 30 universities or 35 universities that play.
If someone's thinking of joining, what kind of ages are you looking for? What kind of ability to be able to be part of the club?
So we take anyone, right? So as I said, we balance between a community club and an elite club. So we have a junior club that trains at Chesterton Community College, and we take from age 7 up to 13. And then we have this transition period where when you're 13, you're old enough to play with adults. And of course, we're not always able to play with adults when we're 13, and some of us are able to play with adults when we're 12. Child development differs. So yeah, we have options for all sorts. And we've got a lovely thing going on at the moment in our club where we've got this kind of daddy-daughter thing going on. We've got 3 or 4 dads that have been forced by their daughters to come and play, and one that just wanted to come and play because he thought it would be a good thing to do, right? Teenage girls and dads. It's what are you going to do together?
I like this.
Yeah,
come on,
sounds
Dad.
absolutely brilliant.
Come along.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we've got boys and their dads too,
Yeah.
but this is a particularly nice
And mums
girls
and
their
their
dads.
sons?
We have got a couple of mums.
Just thinking, a bit late for me now. But
Never.
I'm a big friend. I mean, no, I was thinking more my sons don't live in Cambridge anymore. I thought I'd drag them along.
Yeah, but it's a big family sport. I mean, Alex will have seen that from Kent. There's, family dynasties of korfball players, because once you play, you're hooked, right? It's that's what's lovely about it.
I'm not sure about you throwing that back to Kent when you are part of a Korfball dynasty family of in your own right. I think you've got enough players to field the team, I think.
Tell us more. I mean, Alex, you can tell us more if Liv doesn't want to.
I don't know. I think Liv's probably in the best position to talk through the number of her family members that play.
We'd love to know.
Well, I did go along to mock my sister, as I said. So she has 4 girls that all play, and I have 2 girls that play. They're both taking a break at the moment because of various reasons. My husband is he also plays. He's one of the top referees in the country. He's the chair of the refereeing subcommittee, and recently was out refereeing. He's always travelling. That's how he uses his holiday, is not to spend holiday with me, but to go and referee abroad.
Well, that's why you should organise it so you can do it together. You need to be able to say, we're travelling around the world, but we're actually doing coaching or refereeing for korfball. So are there... Well, you've just said there must be lots of championships and world competitions. It sounds like also the Tigers are in a very good position with these. Is that right?
Yeah, so those sorts of competitions typically more international.
Oh, okay.
But then as some of the top teams, so like Liv says, we play in the Premier League, but the top teams of the Prem, when they win the finals, will go and compete in an international competition with the top teams from the other countries. This has changed formats a couple of times, but it's almost like the best of the best around the world for a local team. But otherwise, you've got, your internationals, your World Cups,
and
your
then
World
you've
Champs.
got players from Cambridge Tigers that have gone, or people that you've both coached that have gone into the England squad by sound of it.
Absolutely, yeah. But there's plenty of juniors that have gone into the England squads from Cambridge Tigers. 2 years ago, I think, we were in Taipei for the World Championships. And one of our ex-juniors, I think he'd just left to go to university. He was in that squad. It's always good to see. And also we have players that are in the Ireland squad as well.
Of course,
Let's not forget Ireland, Wales.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll claim anyone, especially
Absolutely.
happily be proud of everyone that's doing these things. It sounds absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Now, Alex, you said you went from primary and then you didn't really play, or did you play outside of school from primary to secondary?
Yes. So it was something that I did in my spare time. So just as a local club, but I was very fortunate that I joined the England pathway when I was 13 and did that all the way through my teen years up until I think I was about 23, and represented England at all various levels, and I think started my GB senior journey when I was just 17 at the World Games in Colombia. So I'm incredibly proud of that achievement for myself, and I think in the same vein, as you say, we've got players that still play on the England pathway within our team now, and very fortunate from my coaching experience to have been part of the England youth coaching team alongside some excellent coaches, as well as head coach for GB students. I think we've got a really nice mix and experience between us, and definitely proud of a number of the players that we've coached and what they've gone on to achieve.
You should definitely be proud of that. I'd be shouting that a lot louder. But what a great way to have got involved without even kind of particularly planning that as you've grown up as just sport, because you've gone into something you really love, and then that's taken you through to what brilliant opportunities to do.
Oh, absolutely. I feel so lucky, to have found a sport that I loved when I was young. And actually, when Jackie reached out to my parents and said, we'd like us to join the club, they weren't sure about it at first and said, well, we don't really know the sport that well. She enjoys a lot of different sports. Let's see how we get on. But then I tried it outside of school and absolutely love korfball. And personally, I've never looked back. And I do feel very fortunate to have achieved what I've achieved from a playing sense, but also to step step into that coaching role, love it, and hopefully have done a pretty good job. And also, enjoying different roles within the sport. I think it makes a real difference and allows you to you learn sport in a different way when you take on a different role, right? So there's a big difference between being the person that's on the pitch playing and then taking that step back and having to coach the training sessions, especially, for example, when I was at university. So I went to Loughborough University, which didn't have a korfball team, but I became head coach of Nottingham University, stepped in at 18 years old and having to turn up and turn around to these people that were, in some cases, a number of years older than me and being like, hello, yep, you don't know me, but I'm gonna make you run around for the next couple of hours and kind of build up that experience from there. So, I just feel very fortunate.
I think being a player going into coach from what you're saying as well, as a player, you're playing both defence and attack. So that must give you a unique ability to be able to know what you need for both.
Absolutely. I think trying to get that across to someone, especially if, we almost like have a natural predisposed to something, right? Some people are naturally more attacking focused, or people read sports in very different ways. But I think one of the benefits that korfball brings is actually, if you've got good ball handling skills and you're athletic, then it can take you quite far while you kind of learn the nuances kind of the game. And that's the early bit, is how do you take the skills that you've learned in other sports and kind of transition that in, which can happen quite quickly.
Although you said it's not like netball and basketball, it is different. Do you find sometimes, is that often a gateway into it, that people might have done those types of sport?
Yeah, and you can tell, right? You can tell the basketballers, you can tell the netballers, because the netballers are all pivoting on one foot,
standing still,
and the basketballers are all backing into people, wanting to
with the one-handers.
Yeah.
You're doing spinning it on their fingers.
You mentioned the England pathways, national things. Has that pathway always been there? Has it taken a while to get things going as korfball's come over from Holland to here? Has that always been there?
Yeah, I mean, it's been there for, korfball's been in this country since 1946, I think. So,
mad, isn't it?
Yeah, long time. And of course, with that development, it's kind of developed gradually in different areas. So its stronghold was in London, and then Kent has grown a lot. But then pockets around the country, there's loads of korfball in loads of areas of the country. And with that, of course, then the infrastructure of being able to sustain an England pathway, and that fluctuates, right? As we get, there are never enough people. If you think about how small we are compared to netball, that has, a whole bank of paid staff. If you think about when COVID happened, they had their whole raft of people to design how we're going to adapt. And, we had one man and his dog volunteers trying to figure out how do we get this and rules in place without being sued or whatever. So it's really hard. You're always relying on a bunch of volunteers to sustain all these different pathways, whether it's the England pathway or youth in schools, that kind of thing. But yeah, there's been a consistent pathway, and it over time it continues to grow.
And how often, for people that are part of Tigers, how often are you training, playing?
So we have a couple of sessions each week. So we have one squad session at the top end of our club, and then we have a club session, which is for everybody to come and train at. So we kind of offer the club session then enables club players to experience training with the more skilled people. So it's kind of a nice mix. So yeah, we train on a Monday and Wednesday currently, switching to, we've had a few hall troubles. But we
these are the reality problems, aren't they? You're saying, we've heard this so many times about all this sort of grassroots sports, and now we know even more higher up, all relies on volunteers, and the wonder of volunteers and hall issues. You would think once you're playing these things that you forget that those are just like the day-to-day problems of getting a pitch or whatever,
I spend my time driving around looking at big patches of land and going, I could have a sports hall here and it would be perfect. Because unfortunately, that's the reality for us, is that, we moved, we haven't moved. We've been at the Perth training now for 24 years, and they built their new sports hall. And unfortunately, they reduced our hall time to accommodate the sports that they play in school. And it was actually, I have to tell you, one of the most stressful years of my life, trying to find, because there is no other sports hall with time for, a 2-hour training slot in Cambridge. And so, if there are any town planners listening to this.
Even though we're all told you need to go out more, you need to be active, join a sports club.
And this is already really well established. It's not as if you're just saying, oh, can we just come for a kickabout or whatever. Yeah. And I'm really interested to hear that Loughborough didn't have a team. You think Loughborough's always held up as the most prestigious sports university university to go to, and then you said they didn't before. I presume they have now.
They do now. I think in my day, as if it wasn't 2014 or whatever. I think people had tried to set it up before, and when I went, there were a couple of players that were active that I knew were there, but setting up a team was not an endeavour that I fancied at the time. However, over the past couple of years, a couple of people that have previously played have set up a club, and I've actually been fortunate enough to have stepped in and done some head coaching for them at the British University Championship, so at Bucks, over the past couple of years. And
they've seen the error of their ways.
Yes,
they have. But I think
their head in shame.
But I think in the same vein, as you say, there's certain places where it's about the established sports that already exist, or focusing on what people know. And it's good, for us to, for growing up playing the sport, it doesn't feel like an unknown to me. It's been a part of my whole life for such a long time. But yeah, obviously for many people, it might be something they haven't really heard of.
And then, are there competitions, or do you compete within your clubs?
Yeah, so we have a Cambridgeshire League, and we're really lucky, right, that we've had such a good development within the area that we can play within Cambridgeshire. Your furthest game is probably 40 minutes away, but usually it's so there's Cambridge City who play at Hills Road. We play our matches at various places within the city, and sometimes at uni. Uni play at uni, obviously, and then so your furthest schlep is going to be out to Littleport, which is obviously going to be once in the season for your team. So that's the Cambridge Local League. Obviously, for the first and second team, they're in different leagues. So the first team is in the Premier League, which means we're travelling to Bristol tomorrow to play. So, it's a 3-hour trip, 6-hour round trip to play Korfball. So you got to love it.
How can women and girls get involved with the club? What's the first steps to contact you?
If you Google Cambridge Tigers Korfball Club, it'll come up with our website. You can also, if Wednesdays are not your evening, you can also just Google, I think it's camskorfball.co.uk, and that has a list of all of the other clubs. And especially for juniors, so Ely Vikings, Cambridge Tigers and Cambridge City all have junior sections. So if you are a young female from the age of 7 to 13, there's opportunities there as well.
Well, thank you very much. And we've learnt a lot, haven't we, Alex?
Absolutely.
That was great.
Absolutely. It was brilliant. Yes, thank you very much. And for taking your time out to come and find a time to talk to us.
No worries. Thanks very much for having us. It's been fun.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you both.
This is Cambridge Radio, Women's Sports Mix.
Now to rugby. Shelford's women's rugby team are sitting at the top of Championship League 2 after another decisive win at Cannock, and they've made progress into the Cup, however, not in the way that they'd like. I spoke to Fabs Howe from the team earlier in the week, and we started by looking back at the win at Cannock 2 weeks ago.
Yes, we did play it, and Cannock's another one of those it's quite a long way away, and it was the weather turned up during the game, it was okay, but the run-up had obviously been very, very wet, very muddy. Their pitch is on, a little bit of a hill. So the second half, I think we were going uphill, which was, hard work. But no, we did. We went over there. We still got the win. It was, I think our coach has been saying, it's, mark of a good team. We can win pretty, but we can also win ugly.
Yeah.
It was a bit of an ugly win. It was a bit scrappy. We didn't come out of the blocks firing as we would like to have done. We're we like to exploit our backs, have lots of running around the edges, and conditions didn't really enable us to do that. And Cannock, again, they're a very physical team. They really hit up through the middle. So that caused a few problems for us, but we adapted, we overcame. And yeah, I think decent result in the end.
Yeah, 30-14, that's not too shabby.
Yeah. And so that's a bonus point on the road. So that's a 5-win point. So we're still currently sitting up there at the top of the table.
Perfect, that's what we want to hear. If it's all muddy and you're running uphill, literally, you probably feel like you're not getting anywhere for some of that time.
It's pretty hard work. The legs were feeling very tired after not that long, especially you're in a scrum, and it's hard to scrummage on wet ground in the best of times when you're literally being pushed back down a hill and just trying to get any kind of purchase on the ground, which is always fun and games for the front row around here. All that aside, we got a decent win. I'm happy with the results. I think there'll be a few of us out there who are thinking about our own personal performances. I always like to think of going into a match, a couple of things that you want to have come out of the match with. Say, just break it down. Say, this is what I'm really gonna work on this game. We ran pretty hard, got a few good carries in there, a few good tackles. So yeah, people should be happy with the result, even if it wasn't the prettiest of wins.
Absolutely, that's what it counts. And you're at the top of the table now as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're at the top of the table. This is a pretty big one coming up in a couple of weeks on the 14th of December, because we're going away to Old Albanian Saints, and they're currently sat number 2 at the table, but they have played one less game than us. So that'll be a big one for us. Like that's a must-win game, really.
Yeah, and it's away, so it's always going to be slightly less advantage.
They've been a very strong team for a long time. They're a strong club. They've got, their first team playing Champ 1. They feed Saracens, who are obviously in the Premiership, and their seconds playing Champ 2. There are lots of decent players around that way. It's definitely a game that we can win. We came very close to beating them last year, and we just didn't quite. I think they scored in the last play of the game, so we just didn't quite get that win. It's something that we're 100% capable of, but a big thing for us as a team is believing that we're capable of something. There's, it's that confidence. We've got lots of girls who are like quite new to rugby, kind of they don't know how good they are. So we just need a bit of a belief, bit of confidence, and yeah, as I said, it's a winnable game if we want to win it.
Oh well, and that sounds brilliant. So that's the last game of this year, isn't it? Sunday, the 14th of December, away.
Yes.
So you have got something to prove.
Yeah.
And hopefully everyone will go there and know that this is the one to go for. In a sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, you were to play the 30th of November. You were playing as part of the cup. You had a bye in the last cup game, didn't you?
We had another bye. So we're now through to the third round of the cup without actually having played a game, which is, some people would be like, oh, that's great. But actually, I think it's just a real bit of a shame for us. So we're meant to play Peterborough. They got a walkover in their first round. And then they gave us a walkover in the second round. So great that kind of, we're progressing through the cup without having done anything or picked up any injuries, but actually we'd love that game time.
You're into the third round without having played, so you haven't got any idea of what the competition's like or how it's going, or there's sometimes it's good to get that match time, isn't it, just to keep going?
Yeah, like we know they're all familiar teams to us, like they're fairly local teams, so we know them. Peterborough are in our league, they're at the bottom of our league and we're at the top of our league at the moment, so we could have pretty confidently gone into that game saying, all right, we can try some new things, maybe try some people out of position, get some new players, a bit more game time. So sad that we didn't get the chance to do that, but gotta just keep going. We've got a bit of a break now, so obviously we played last weekend, and I think we now got 2 weekends off before our game on the 14th. So had a bit of a chill week last week, have everyone some time off. We've got a couple of girls who are over in Dubai at the moment playing the sevens there, and then hopefully we'll hit the ground again this week, big prep week next week ahead of that last game of the year.
And you said the girls in Dubai, they're playing sevens. Is that a tournament?
Yeah, so it's a big international sevens tournament that's happened over the weekend in Dubai, and lots of kind of representative teams go. So they were going with a charity team, which is for the Christina Noble Foundation. So they've been out there all weekend playing rugby, and along the way they raised lots of money for charity, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
They would have had a fantastic experience. I know they met some really cool people whilst they're out there. I think for that kind of thing, it's getting girls out there, and it's a different kind of exposure. It's different people seeing you play. Those kind of things can lead to fantastic opportunities, especially for women in rugby who are like just coming up and don't have those pathways like the men do. So for kind of all girls in sport and women in sport, if you get those kind of opportunities, I think you have to try and take them, and you never know what will come from them.
Yeah, how exciting. Well, we'll watch your space for that one. We said your last game is on the 14th of December, and then your first game, the 11th of January at home. So if anyone wants to come down and see, that would be a good one, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. I have to say it's going to be our league game against Peterborough on the 11th of January. Hopefully they've had some time to get their front row fit again, and they'll be in full force and ready to play on the 11th of January. But that'll be a big home game for us, kind of right back after Christmas, brush full of dust and stuff, and get going again.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, one thing I wanted to mention before the end of this year is that you've got a special event on the 8th of March, International Women's Day.
Yes, absolutely. So we've got a big day at home at Shelford that day. So we're playing Bridge North. We went up there a few weeks ago. They're a pretty strong team, so they'll come down here and play us, and that should be a really good game. And then around the club, there's going to be lots of other things going on. They're doing an afternoon tea to go alongside the game, which will be kind of a nice thing to do. and they'll have lots of female traders and female speakers and stuff like that, and a really good day to just celebrate the women around Shelford and around rugby, which I think will be fantastic, because week in, week out they have the boys and they have lunches for the boys, and this is all the normal thing, and it's trying to get that for the girls as well.
Well, I've got it in my diary. That sounds like a great one to come and see, and also to see you on the 11th of January, and then we can talk about that afterwards. Now, it sounds weird, but I want to wish you a very happy Christmas and a great New Year, and hope Shelford women also do brilliantly in the next few matches too.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Alex, and happy Christmas and happy New Year to you too.
So it's a bit frustrating when you think you're going to be doing some cup games, and I was joking with Fab saying, oh, well, look, you can get to the final this way without playing a single match. And she said several people have said that. But they, as she was saying, they want to have some match time. They want to let their new players try out different stuff without having to risk going down in the league or whatever.
That's the thing, isn't it? You've factored that into your training, is that you have that game as well. So if you then don't have it, you've not, whatever tactics you were going to try out, the game time you were going to have for people that maybe aren't playing in the league. And
she said
it's twice, isn't it?
Yeah. And she also said that they're all local teams, so they kind of know the measure of them, so they would know which ones tactically they would put people, new people, and try them out and everything. So let's fingers crossed they get a game for the club next time. But also it made me laugh when laugh in a kind of feeling for them way, not in a mean way, is when she said that it was really, really muddy and they were playing on a hill and trying to keep upright and skidding along. You can imagine what they look like at the end. I didn't ask about that, but I bet the old Purcell was coming out for that one.
So shall we take a look at the ice hockey now? Alex, Cambridge Kodiaks, they had a great result against Chelmsford Cobras. This was a 7-2 win on Saturday, November 22nd. And Kodiaks too, who are in the league below, they had a 6-1 loss against Lee Valley Vampires, followed by a 12-2 loss against Vampires. They played them twice in a row, and then a very narrow loss, 3-2 to Milton Keynes Falcons B. I spoke to Julia Mabry of the Kodiaks and Sophie Heather, who's captain of Kodiaks 2, and started by looking at that great 7-2 win against the Cobras. Julia, it was a fantastic result for the Kodiaks, but in the first period, despite good play, you found yourselves behind.
Yes, we actually did. First period, we definitely were having a bit of trouble, I think, finding the back of the net. We had a couple, I think, of really close chances, but it was definitely, I think, a bit frustrating for our team at first, trying to figure out why we, couldn't, like I said, find the back of the net and score.
And what do you think it was that gave you the breakthrough?
I think we just had, a bit more confidence going into the second period. I think, having those breaks really helped us to sort of catch up and go over some of the things that we were missing out on. We went over that in the locker room. And then I think it was sort of, once we got that first goal, it was, I think, kind of a little bit of a confidence boost for everyone. I think it was Chloe, Christina, and Alicia had a really nice goal between them. And I think that really boosted the positive energy on the bench.
You mentioned Christina, hat-trick from captain Christina Ashley, also 2 goals, 2 assists from Chloe Carter. What did you make of this as a team performance?
Yeah, I think that was, a really great performance. I think that line is really starting to mesh well together and really kind of show some chemistry, which I think is really great too, just because since we are, starting out this season and have a lot of new players, something that we've been trying to sort of build is team chemistry, line chemistry. And I think that really showed during that game.
And I saw on your socials that you had your best support, biggest crowd for this game. How does it feel to have people there cheering you on? How important is that to the Kodiaks?
Yeah, it was amazing. I think having the support from the community, everyone's friends, families coming, it's really awesome. And I think it definitely helps us out on the ice when everyone's cheering on and off the bench. And I think we can just hope that fans keep coming and everyone just keeps sort of supporting just because this is, a new season in this new division.
I've been looking at the league table and it's looking pretty good for the Kodiaks. Do you look at the table? Is that something that you're thinking about?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that we think about usually before games. We'll usually do a few video sessions just to kind of go over maybe some plays that the other team sort of has been doing. But I think all in all, at least for me, I sort of just go out there and I just look at it as, another opponent on the other side, no matter if, they're at the top of the league, the bottom of the league, because, anyone can win a game any any day. It's always about how much effort you're putting out there. And one of my coaches used to always say that the hardest working team wins. So I think that's something that I always kind of go with when I go out on the ice, sort of no matter who we're playing.
Sophie, let's have a look at Kodiak's 2 now. You had 2 games in 2 days at the weekend, and it was Lee Valley Vampires who you'd played the week before, and that had been a 6-1 loss, but lots of good play in there. I think hoping that we could maybe get them the next time, but it wasn't to be. It was another loss to Lee Valley.
Yeah, I mean, the scoreline obviously was a bit more significant on the home game, but I actually think we played better. I think potentially because we were working harder, trying to obviously work to get that goal or get more goals. It might have just left us a bit open, but that's something we can work on in training, and I'd rather have the effort there and have just tactical and positional things to work on rather than not have the effort there, because that's half the battle, I think. And we're really lucky in that we have a lot of, like Julie was saying, hard workers that want to just play hockey and want to skate. So I think, yeah, it's not the results, but I think we're getting there. And obviously the second game was a lot better, a lot closer. So hopefully it won't be too long till we're talking about our first win.
So that second game, that was Milton Keynes Falcons, the B team. Tell us about this. This was 3-2.
Yeah, so it was very, very tight. I think it was the last 5 minutes of the first period that Falcons scored, and then they scored again in the second. And obviously we went in the changing room and we were just saying, look, we are still in this game. We know we can score against them because we scored, I think, 4 goals against them when we went to theirs. So we just kind of had a chat about working hard, pushing for this last period, and let's just go and enjoy hockey and see what we can get out of it. And we actually won the third period 2-1. So although it's not a win overall, that's the first time that the new team for us, for Kodiaks, has won a period. So that was a massive win for us, and I think it's definitely showing that we're heading in the right direction.
What's the next game for Kodiaks 2?
Our next game is the 3rd of January, and it'll be at home to Bristol. So we've not played Bristol before, so that'll be a nice new challenge.
And Julia, let's look at what's up next for the Kodiaks. It is Milton Keynes Falcons, the League One team of the Falcons, on Saturday, December 20th. This is another home tie. Falcons are bottom of the league. What are you expecting from this game?
Well, I think even though they're at the bottom of the league, we still definitely don't want to underestimate them. Any team can show up any day and play. So I think regardless, we're really trying to, focus on our systems, kind of still maintain playing the best that we can and build off of, I think, the previous weekend. I think we had a really great game, and I think it was a big confidence boost for our team just because I know we lost the game before or 2 games before and had I think it was a bit difficult from, winning so much last season. But, I think regardless of the other team being at the bottom of the league, definitely just still going out there and trying our best. And hopefully we can, still keep building up those sort of chemistry that we've had the last few games.
Cambridge Radio Women's Sports Mix.
This is Amy and Alex on the Women's Sports Mix. Let's have a look at the other football now. Cambridge United women, they're against Norwich again, which I feel like we've watched a lot of those Norwich games, haven't we?
And how did they do?
Well, this was on November 30th. It was a 2-1 loss, Alex. So a bit disappointing. And actually,
close.
Sean Greygoose was saying on socials, similar actually to what happened with Histon. He said not as good, slower in the first half, and then they got their goal back in the second half, but not enough to get past Norwich on this occasion. So what that does for the league is Cambridge United are in 7th now, so they have dropped down a bit. They've taken 1 point from the last 4 games. Fulham at the top and Norwich in 2nd. And looking at their games leading up to Christmas, on the 7th, they're away to Actonians. And then on the 21st, they have Fulham at home. So their home is St Neots. If you want to go see the U's, that'll be a great game. Fulham atop. They haven't lost yet. Come on, U's. Come on, show them.
Well, maybe. Let's be positive. I mean, it'll be a good game to see, but if they haven't lost yet, I feel that they're coming to win now, aren't they? So you've got to do everything, got to give it a good go.
So let's look at Cambridge City now. They were in the second round of the plate competition. They have a new management team in place at City. Luke Camieri, first team manager. Assistant manager is Abu Bakar Suma, or Abs. So Luke and Abs, it says on socials. So there we go. This was a home game against Real Bedford Ladies, the reserves of that club. It was a 2-3 loss. And Full-Born Bluebirds, they got a point, Alex.
Hey.
Dunstable Town Lionesses, that one was 2-2. So for the league, Histon didn't play because they had that cup game, so that they are still top. Cambridge City are in 12th, so they're at the bottom, but they didn't play, so they've got games in hand. And Fulbourn have got that point, so they're now sitting on 7 points. And the sort of little relegation line, so Biggleswade, who everyone's chasing, are on 8 points, so one
yeah,
point
not far.
in that.
Yeah, it could be done. It's still early days, really, isn't it? In that sense.
And you've been watching the Lionesses.
I have. So I don't know whether you saw on Saturday the 29th, the Lionesses were playing at Wembley against a friendly against China. It was a sellout. Now, Wembley sellout, I still find that hard and wonderful to hear. A complete sellout and an 8-0 win.
Everyone wants
England.
to see these players, don't they?
And yes, and I watched it on TV. It was on ITV1 on a Saturday night, which is quite rare. Used to be quite rare. I say it is. It's not now. It isn't rare now, which is fantastic. But once it got to 5-0 at half time, Strictly was on the other side. Sorry, and I thought I just kept an eye on the scores. But they scored 3 goals in like 3 minutes. They did 12 minutes of nothing, not nothing, but like no scores. And then suddenly, once they got that first one in, they were away. And it was nice to see some of the players that maybe didn't play in the more recent tournaments that were on the bench. They gave them some play time. So it was really good. And also earlier in this week on a Monday, the 1st of December, they played Ghana as a friendly and had a 2-0 win as well. So they still are the ones to beat. And they were saying it's interesting playing countries outside of Europe because they don't get so much experience of that, and they all play very differently. So I think that's looking really good for the next World Cup, when obviously we want to win it.
Women's Sports Mix. Cambridge Radio.
You're listening to Alex and Amy on the Women's Sports Mix. And I want to say a big thank you to our guests from Cambridge Tigers Korfball, Liv and Alex.
Yeah, we loved hearing about Korfball, and also so impressive how long they've both been playing. And Alex represented England, GB, England youth coaching. We were really so impressed, weren't we?
Yeah, it's absolutely, and something we knew very little about. So it just shows if you start digging a little bit deeper, you find all these things going on and lots of opportunities for everybody, women and girls.
And when they were talking about the types of skills that you need, and it might be that maybe someone's listening that is a potential Korfball, that's going to be their sport.
Yeah.
To go along,
like they were saying, it was really great to see some of the people that they've trained from young children up into university and beyond, and now they're playing for the nationals teams.
Yes, so great to hear about what's going on in Cambridgeshire. And you can listen to the Women's Sports Mix on demand at cambridge.radio and podcasting platforms, including YouTube. All of our episodes are there. So this week's, all of the episodes we've done last season as well. We've covered a lot of sports, haven't we? So if you have a particular interest,
sport, yeah, exactly. If you find a sport that you are interested in but don't know about, one is listen back. We might have an episode on it. Or if there's one that you want us to do, get in touch.
WSM at cambridge.radio. We're also on Instagram, women's_sportsmix. You are welcome to DM us there. We are back on Cambridge Radio in 2 weeks' time, December the 18th at 6 p.m. Bye from us.
Bye.